Okay, this is a Echo Pb580t. Guys having trouble with it running correctly. I've tried to adjust the CARB. It's not adjusting right, so it's probably a bad check valve or something such as that. Anyway, we're going to replace it today. I'm going to start pulling this off. Okay, pull the cover off. The filter, new filter. Okay, we get a couple of these screws out here. I'm gonna get a couple of these screws out. These are T25, so pull that off. There's our CARB sitting there. Gonna get a couple of the hoses off and we'll pull it off of there. Set this down. Okay, once you get the screws out, this is stuck, so you just pull it off. Then you're able to get your linkage hoses and linkage off of there. This shouldn't take too long. Let me stop. Can't do it one-handed. Hold on. Okay, to get these off, this hose, and then there's a linkage wire. It's right there. That part just hooks into this loop right here. And then the hoses are here and here, so it's not too bad. But you may have to use a little pair of channel locks like that to get on the hose, or it's around the inlet pipe, and just twist it to break it loose. These things have been on there for probably 10 years or better. To break it loose, that way you can pull it off. So here's our CARB here, and we're just going to replace it. These guys here, they have a high and a low, but it's the micro D, which is a 2mm tool. There's the package for it. Got it off Amazon. It's about $6. And this is the one that comes with it. That's the one that goes in the package. Well, this is one I already had. And if you notice, it's tapered. So this particular one would not work in the Echo because of the taper. It's not thin enough. But this one will go in there because it's more narrow all the way up. So if you see the shank there, it's wider, so it wouldn't fit in the little hole. So anyway, they're both 2mm, but the one is just designed different, so it'll fit in there. Hold on. Alright, here's the new aftermarket CARB. It fits the Pb580t Echo Blower. It's a little kit, and they give you the carburetor, load you up with some other stuff. There's usually a filter, spark plug, some hoses. If you need to replace your hoses, it's a good time to do that now. Thankfully we don't have to do that here. I may just trim this off a little bit to get a new area to fit it on. But anyway, here's the CARB, and you set the other one here and just verify it's similar. A lot of times it's not exactly the same. If you notice this pipe here, those are different sizes, so sometimes you maybe have to change those out, or change out the hoses, that way they'll fit better. If you notice the adjustments there, this one has easier adjustments. You can do that with a small screwdriver, so they'll be easier to adjust going forward. And then the hose there is the same, the hose fitting. Hose fitting's the same on that one. That one's a little smaller, so we have to adjust that. Gonna snip this hose a little bit off with some wire cutters, just to give us a fresh edge. This one here is not too bad. I think we're gonna leave that one. This one here looks okay. So, I mean, you can trim it if you want, but you know, just to make sure it'll fit on there. And we're ready to try to install. Let's see here. Okay, this hose here, the yellow one, is too big for the other fitting, which is right there. So I'm gonna have to swap that hose out. So I have to take this off with the pair of screwdriver, just a screwdriver to pop this seal up, and it's not a big deal. Just don't want to damage it. Pop that out. Then we see that hose is just a return hose, so which is good. So it'll be an easy swap, as long as this will still fit around that hose without any gaps. So with that yellow hose, we'll pull that out. So we fit our yellow piece, our new hose that came with the carburetor in there, and then it feeds right into the new hole, or the old gasket, and we'll just pull that down to length and then trim it off. So we'll have us a complete new return hose on there. While you got this out, you can inspect the filter. That looks okay. You can swap it if you want to if it's too dark, but this one looks good. And the hose looks okay, so we're going to pull this through and then trim it. Okay, here we are again. We got the new hose here. We pulled it through, pushed it through the seal. Right. See the new hose there, pushed it through the seal. We're getting ready to put this back in. Sometimes it can be a booger. You get one side of it in, hope for the best, and then push it with the screwdriver. Problem is, you can't do it one hand. Okay, we got it back in there. I just used a screwdriver and pushed along the edges, and start one side down, push it in, just kind of like you do a bicycle tube, if you will. Now we're ready to mount this back on. We got our linkage right here. We're going to hook that up. Not a big deal. And we're ready to put the screws back on it. Okay, we put the carburetor back on there. Make sure you get your gasket on and your linkage. Check your linkage by pulling the trigger over here. Make sure it's working. I don't know if y'all can see that down there. Anyway, you can kind of see it. It's working. So we just hand started these screws. So I'll take my drill and we'll zip it back on there. That's all there is to it. Once you get your hoses on there, be mindful of this seal. I call it a grommet, seal grommet. I don't know what everybody else calls it, but just be aware of that. If it's got cracks in it, or just not making a good tight fit here where it leaks, make sure you swap that out. Sometimes the kits, well, this one didn't come with one. Sometimes they come with one, but if not, you can order them off eBay or Amazon, and just figure out if you got 2 holes, 3 holes in the measurement. There's different sizes. So at this point, this one's ready to get it all back together and try it out. Echo's one of the easier company easier one to work on, easier machines. I like them. All their stuff better than any of the others. Of course, they own Shindawa now too, so those are relatively the same. And we got this all buttoned up. I'm gonna take this outside and try it out. Hold on. All right. Okay, we got it running good. A couple of things I had to do on the new carburetor, which keep in mind they're not OEM, they're aftermarket. I'll show you on the old one, but this tab here, right here, the carburetor sits in there like this. This tab was positioned different, and the way it sits on, it only sits one way, so it kept hitting the housing. So what I had to do, I took a small pair of pliers and I just bent the other tab on the other carb, holds the linkage. I just bent it outward, that way it would clear the housing. Then I put my gaskets and all that back on and installed it, and it worked fine. And I did have to adjust the idle screw, which I'll show you. Idle screw, and I adjusted the high speed just a tad. When you're doing those, like, here's the idle screw. I just turned it in a couple of turns, and then the high is right here. I turned it about a little over a quarter of a turn, and to get the RPMs up, all you do is pull your trigger, hold your trigger down. You can get somebody to help you if you want, but hold the trigger down, and then you can adjust this quarter turn each time. If it gets worse, go back the other way. So that's how you adjust this. Low, you don't really have to adjust too much unless you're not getting it started. Then it's a whole different ball of wax there. You have to spend some time adjusting. But once you get the high speed going good, and you're usually set. Okay, that's it on this one. We got it running. I'll call the customer.